Okay. So good morning. Morning. Good
Morning, sir.
morning. Vic.
Morning, sir.
Ayan.
Morning, sir.
Tunla sana. Sige. Uh, we are now here for our first lesson in the third quarter. Third quarter na dyan taon. Okay. Third quarter na dyan. Kamay na lang. Grade 9 na mo. Wala, kadali ra. Okay. So our first lesson for the third quarter is the different visual verbal relationships or explaining the visual verbal relationships in expository text. Sige. Okay. Here. So this time we will have the lessons of the explaining the visual verbal relationships in especially in the expository text. So first, let's have what do we mean by expository text man? Sige. What do we mean by expository text? Anyone? What do you mean by expository text? Rhea?
No idea, sir.
Oh my goodness. Expository text or expository essay. What do you mean by expository text or expository essay? Gi. What di mo ni agi og expository essay di ay in the different types of essay. Oh my goodness, where have you been? Expository text. Sige, Aba. Masina
Wala ko kay ba, sir?
Parasag mo kay Bao. Kinsa may na kay Bao anyone about expository text? Okay, sige na lang. Expository text or expository essays, these are the kinds of text, no? Text. This is a kind of text that states facts or factual ideas. Factual ideas based on the evidences. Naano siya mga evidences, mga factual ideas with evidences. Ha? So, example, kanang mga na ay mga tables, na mga graphs, na mga infographics. So, those are expository texts. So, here, sir, you might be asking, sir, ano nabot na diha? Here, in this lesson, you will be able to make an expository text. Explain the facts, explain the details using a visual verbal relationships or illustrations. You might be asking, sir, ano sa maning visual verbal illustrations? So here are the examples of the visual verbal illustrations. Mana siya example. So those are the examples of visual verbal relation or illustrations. Sir, nga nung natawag man na siya visual verbal illustration, di ba? Pie, charts and graphs, diagram raman na, sir? Okay. Visual, kay makita. Verbal, because that diagram or charts ngayong gitanaw, it already talks a it already talks a detail. It already talks an idea. It already talks information. Sama na siya. That's why it is called visual verbal illustrations. Okay? Now, here. Look at the different visual verbal illustrations. What visual verbal illustrations do you recognize? Ano sa mga nailhan rin ninyo diha? Sige, Kanoy.
The bar graph, the pie, then kaning line graph, is that it?
Okay. There's a bar graph. Unsa pa?
Pie, sir. Then here, hierarchy.
Pie and Samuel, unsa pa gyud? Unsa mention nga wala ma-mention ni Rhea? Naka-mention na siya. Bar graph, pie chart. Unsa pa?
Table, sir.
Table. Unsa pa gyud? What else? Mora?
Line graph, sir.
Line graph. Unsa pa gyud? Mora?
Map.
Map. Okay, na map. What else? What else? Naman. Nanay line, nanay bar, table, map, pie. How about the three?
Ang hierarchy.
Another hierarchy?
Ambot si pangalan ni hierarchy. Ano siya?
Ha? Kanang naay mga cells. Cells, organelles, mitochondria, ano na? ER, etc. Cell definition, history. Ano na siya?
3.
Three?
Graphic organizer na, sir?
Oh, graphic organizer. But what kind of graphic organizer? It is a start with letter C. 2 words na. C and M.
Cell.
Huh? The first word is C. The second word is M. It's a prank. Yeah. So what do you call that one? It's a concept. So tawagan na, concept map. Concept map tawag ana ha. Kanang cells, kanang yung blue. The one in blue, that is called concept map because it groups the idea based on its concept. So mana siya. How about kining do while loop o while loop? Unsa man tawag ana? Kining naay do while loop o while loop. What do you call that graph?
3.
Or chart? Huh?
3.
3?
Connect sa to ay. Connect. Sa to ay.
Does it describe a flow?
Yes.
Flow chart.
Flow chart.
Oh.
It describes a flow man. So yes, it's flow chart. How about kanang naay red, orange, yellow, unsa may tawag ana? Okay, the one naay word nga red, orange, yellow, sa may tawag niyo ana?
Weather forecast, sir.
Weather forecast? It's called An infograph. Infograph tawagan na ha. That is called infograph. Infograph to siya, mga kaibigan. Okay? Infograph. Infograph to siya. Okay. This one. So let's identify. Let's give meaning. Identify what is referred to. Choose your answer from the box and write its letter on the space before the number. Okay. So in the box, there are, makita ninyo na there are different visual verbal illustrations. Pangalan sa the names of visual verbal illustrations. So you have to identify what is referred to in each item. So number 1, Samuel.
Answer, sir.
Read and answer. Read and answer.
1. It is a combination of visual images and text presentation of specific information. Kuan mas ay sir kanang letter H.
Letter
H, sir.
H. H siya. Why?
H.
Infograph. So, we'll go back. Asa kitong infograph? Asa ganitong
Kanang mga red, orange, yellow.
Okay. Now, in the description, nag-ingon siya, it is a combination of visual images and text presentations of a specific information. Now, what specific information does the picture gi-present niya? Unsa may iyang gi-present?
The weather, sir. Fall advisory.
The rainfall
Advisory.
advisory. So the different levels of rainfall advisory. So rainfall advisory ang yang gi-present. Now, ningon man to sa number 1, it is a combination of a visual images and text presentation. Are there visual images? In the picture? Are there visual images? Naabay visual images? Naabay mga pictures? Sa picture na to? Ayo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So unsa may visual images nga naa sa picture?
The clock then, kanang clouds na naay rain.
Okay. It's the clock and the clouds nga naay rainfall. How about text presentations? Naa kahit text, mga letters? Yes or no? Naa?
Naa.
Okay, naa siya. So it is, kini siya nga picture na to, it's called info graph. How about number 2? Sige, number 2. Rhea.
It is a diagram that shows the relative position of parts of something. I think it's concept map, sir. E.
No.
Wait. Letter G?
No. Tanawa, analyze ang question. It is a diagram. Diagram gani, meaning like a picture. Pictures, yeah. So it is a diagram that shows relative position. So asa naka-position ang mga parts. Balik ta sa picture. Asa kahaanin nila, or which of these visual verbal illustrations gi-describe sa number 2? It is a diagram. So mura siyang picture. Okay, mura siyang picture ha. that describes or that tells relative position of the parts. Naayon mga naasa nakaposisyon ang mga parts niya. Asa ka ha?
Ang kanang map, sir?
Ha?
Kanang ma-isolate ay.
It?
Puti ka mouse.
Ang kanang map, sir.
Correct. It's a map. Map siya. Ha? Tanawang map. Asa ka ha? Nakaposition si Lake. O, nasa center. So, it tells a relative position. Oh, asa ka si Kwan? Asa ka ang students, asa ka ang restaurant? Oh, it's in the southern part of the shops. Oh, mano siya? Relative position. Number 3. Joanna.
It is a kind of graph that presents information trends using data dots connected by straight lines segments. Straight lines. Line graph A.
Line graph. Okay. Line graph. Line graph siya. Now, line graph, kung siyang tanaan, balik, does it tells a trend sa line graph? Nag-tell ba siya trend? By the way, you don't know what is trend pa man, no? So what do you mean by trend? So a trend, does it decreasing, increasing, steady, or mana siya? Does it decreasing, increasing, or steady? That is a trend. So asa man kahaani nga graph ang nag-describe ana nga description. It describes trend either decreasing, increasing, or steady. So it is the line graph. It is the line graph. Number 4. Binaraw.
It is kind of graph that characterize categorical data with rectangular bars of equal width.
Nanay clue, rectangular bars.
F, sir? Chart?
No? Pie chart? It is a graph. It is a kind of graph that characterize categorical data with rectangular bars of equal width. Clue na. Alter. Alter?
Sir, bar
Answer number 4.
B.
B. It's bar graph. Gani clue. Rectangular bar graph. Rectangular bars. So it's a bar graph. Okay, number 5. Dilemma.
Basahon, sir, dili.
Unfair kag di mo basahon.
It is circular in form that presents how a whole is sliced into parts. Letter F, pie chart.
It's pie
F.
chart. Okay. Circular in form presents how the whole is sliced into parts. So giyon sa pag bahin-bahin ang whole. So that is a pie chart. So 6. Kamura. Sige, binaraw balik.
Sir, nawa, nara. It is an organized arrangement of data, usually in rows and columns.
Okay. Rows and columns, ha? Clue. Na nakay-clue diha, rows and columns.
C. Table.
Correct. Table. Number 7. Balik kanoy.
It is an illustration that shows a step-by-step process. Letter G. Sir. Flowchart.
Letter G. Nanagit yung mga favorite ha. Letter G. Flowchart. Number 8. Last. Joanna. Joanna?
Oh, ako day, sir. Kuan kanang it displays the organization and relationship of concepts and ideas. Kuan concept map.
Concept map. Sumana siya ha. Again. Those are the visual verbal illustrations. Now, in an expository text, most good lagi na siya. Okay, because expository text, it tells about or it presents a lots of information. And thus, expository text needs to mga visual verbal illustrations para mas masabtan sa reader. Okay? Now, visual verbal illustrations, in using visual verbal illustrations, mag-vary na siya or mag-depende, it depends to what type of information you have. The type of information you have. For example, ang mga information na animo is percent, mga naay percents. Or ang imong information, you talk about how do you spend your 100 peso daily allowance. For example, you are talking about asa nimo gipalit ang imong 100 pesos nga daily allowance. So what visual verbal illustration is best to use? Okay, Rhea.
Pie chart, sir.
Okay, you have pie chart. Sa paman? Sa pagkaha? Rhea again.
Table.
Table. Isa pa? Mora? That's all?
Concept.
Ha? Concept map? Sure, Roy.
Katong
Okay.
kuan, sir. 3.
Infograph, sir.
Ha? Duhara ang pwede ana ha. If numeric kuan gani, if you're trying to tell nga kanang how do you spend your 100 peso daily allowance? Ang best ana is either pie charts or tables. Now, next. How about what visual illustration is best to use if you are talking about your daily routine? What do you think is the best visual verbal illustration best to use if you are talking about your daily routine? Saka ha, daily routine. So from morning till evening. From getting up to bed, from going to bed. Unsa man kaha ang best visual relation, visual verbal relation atong gamiton ana. Inas kanoy sigbalik kanoy eh. Oh, lahi na pod. Cristel. Best visual verbal relation nga imong pwedeng gamiton. Daily routine. Pwede ka na pie chart? Dili, di siya pwede pie chart. Unsa man siya pwede? Sa kaha.
Kanang table, sir?
Table? Pwede. Pwede. Pwede, table. What else?
Line graph.
Line graph? Pag sure siya, oy. Dili na siya pwede line graph. It's not pwede, di na siya pwede line graph. Ha?
Infograph.
Infograph? No. Unsa man na ang daily routine? Di ba it is a process? What visual verbal relations, visual verbal illustration describes a process?
Concept map.
Process din ang concept map. Di, oy.
Bar graph.
Saka bar graph. Di ba process? Akong gingon, process. So, process or Ria, na kay kasulti Ria?
Chart.
Chart, sir. Flow chart. Flow chart.
Flow chart. Pwede flow chart. It's either table or flow chart. Diba flow chart describes a process. And daily routine is a process. Getting up to bed, getting up from bed. Diba? Proceeding ka sa next. Taking a bath. Proceed sa next. Turning up computer. Proceed sa next. Playing games. Proceed. Breakfast. Proceed. Muna siya. Gets? Next. What visual illustration is best to use if you talk about the do's and don'ts during and after earthquake? Okay.
Table.
Table, pwede. Pwede table. What else? The do's and don'ts on before, during, and no. The do's and don'ts during and after earthquake. Sige. Sa kaha, we have table. Okay, good. Pwede table. Sa paman. Pwede ba siya bar graph? Pwede bar graph? Dili no. Sa kaha.
Line graph.
Line graph? Do's and don'ts?
Infograph.
Infograph. Infograph. Mas dali man siya masabtan if infograph. The do's and don'ts in, during, and after earthquake. Infograph. Infograph. How about what visual illustration? What visual verbal illustration is best to use if you are trying to present No. What visual verbal illustration you are going to use if you are trying to talk about who um, who Korean pop idols is famous?
Pie.
Pie?
Table?
Table, pwede. Pie, dili. Hindi siya pwede pie. Kaya na naman ka, ang pie man god, whole na siya. Yeah, how do you spend the parts? So, mo na siyang pie.
Bar graph.
Bar graph? What else? Oh, Kanoy.
Line graph.
Line graph. So, ano pa? Mora? So, only them. Diba? Kinsa ang pinaka-famous na Korean pop idol? So, we have bar graph, line graph, o table. So, mana siya. Okay? Questions? Wala na. Okay, questions? Sige. Oh, wala naman tayo time. Sige. Since we don't have much time, no? We don't have much time. We'll continue this tomorrow. Okay? Again, so we don't have much time. We'll continue this visual verbal relations tomorrow. Now, for your assignment, okay? For your assignment, search more about the visual verbal illustrations nga naa sa kwan. About the table, about the pie charts, about the infograph, about the bar graph, the flow chart, and the concept map, as well as the maps, no? Search more about them and their uses so that tomorrow we'll have lots of activities tomorrow. So by tomorrow, kibaw na mo what, or you will able to decide quickly what type of visual verbal illustration are you going to use, because tomorrow is a very exciting day. Okay, so thank you and goodbye.